Hey, and welcome to our monthly Mindful Lounge. Today, we are going to be talking about intuitive eating practices in real life. So these are going to be practical applications because I'm going to be, sort of sorting through some of the questions that I get most often or the challenges with intuitive eating and how to navigate a few different challenging situations where you might not actually be able to fully um, use the tools that you've learned for intuitive eating. But before we get started, just want to welcome Colleen. Hi, Colleen. She's one of our
Hi,
newest members of the Just One More Bite community. Just thought maybe you could quickly introduce yourself.
I would love to. Thanks, Jenny. I have known Jenny for, gosh, probably close to 7 or 8 years now. She coached me. I've been in many of her programs. Literally, working with Jenny has changed my life. Um, Walking away from food addiction, being able to understand how to satiate my body in the most healthy way, how to love my body, reading her book. I forget what it's called, Body
Body
Blueprint.
image blueprint,
Uh,
yeah.
Body Image Blueprint was a game changer for me, and I just feel like staying close to a community like this is just really beneficial for me in my life. And so I highly recommend joining us. I've been on her other groups where we met regularly, and being able to be around like-minded people, supporting each other, learning, growing, and doing all of those kind of things so that we can live our best life. But thank you for having
Yes.
me.
Thank you so much, Colleen. That is so sweet. I appreciate it. And I'm so happy you joined us today. So, what we're going to do is I'm just going to introduce this topic a little bit more. And I am going to do this after class. I'm going to send everybody these strategy cards. And I'm also going to send each of you an intuitive eating assessment, which I'm going to go through with Colleen right now just to show you how that works. We may not get to every question, Colleen, but that, just so that you can fill this out on your own when you're watching either before or after this presentation. So this is designed to help you develop a more peaceful relationship with food through intuitive eating. Now, I talk a lot about mindful eating and specific tools for mindful eating, including, tuning into your senses and using practical strategies like breath work and putting your fork down. But intuitive eating is a little bit different. And I find that people struggle a little bit more with this because it's a little bit more amorphous. It's not like intuitive eating is blah, blah, blah. It's often about learning to understand your body's cues and understanding how to regulate environmental cues versus internal cues, outside cues versus inside cues. So today we're going to move beyond just the practical theory and look into some challenges that I've heard from many people over the years and help you create practical tools that you can implement right away. So we're going to get into like restaurant meals, family gatherings, workplace temptations, and help you to learn to leave with concrete strategies that honor your body's wisdom and also honors the circumstance that you're in the moment. So your intuitive eating journey looks a little bit like this. The first thing is to stop, to let yourself become aware of whatever situation you're in currently that makes intuitive eating difficult, whether it's social pressure or maybe you're having some emotional triggers, boredom, stress, etc. The second step is to develop personal tools to create your unique hunger fullness scale, as opposed to just the typical 1 to 10, which I find, I still use, but a lot of people struggle with that. I want to look today a little bit more at a fullness hunger scale that reflects more of your specific body cues and sensations. And then how to apply this to your daily life. So, how to incorporate these strategies and ideas that we learned today into meal planning strategies and also help you navigate social situations that might be more challenging. So, navigating real world eating challenges, we're going to look at the restaurant dilemma. So when we're faced with either oversized portions or extra appetizers and bread, social pressure to maybe clean your plate, remembering and honoring that your fullness is an act of self-care. We're also going to talk about the afternoon slump. So helping you distinguish between physical hunger and the desire for an energy boost or a social connection at 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And then family gathering challenges. So helping you to develop strategies for navigating family expectations while still honoring your body's true preferences and hunger signals. So, Colleen, are you ready for me to move into the assessment real quick?
Yes, yes, I am.
Okay, can you tell me if you see this? It says intuitive eating assessment.
Yes.
Okay, so, and I can actually email this to you after, so because we're going to go through it. So, we may not answer everything because it's a bit long, but it's going to help me understand you, the member of the Just One More Bite community, of the paid community. It's going to help me understand you better and to be able to create content that is really relevant for each of you. So, for part A, look at this hunger signal recognition and look at the following answers here. Stomach growling, feeling this empty feeling in your stomach, a slight stomach ache or gnawing feeling, low energy. Which of these should I click that typically tells you that you're hungry?
Yeah, I think stomach growling or rumbling.
Mhm.
Um, I'm at the point now where I do know what I need, and because I'm more macronutrient dense, I stay fuller longer. So I don't really have any of the, once empty feeling in stomach maybe, but I don't really have any of those other things now.
That's great. That
Yeah.
that says so much about how you've been able to work to understand your hunger cues and be able to take action before you get to a point where you're experiencing some of these, which is
Right.
really great. So any other sensations of hunger that you notice when you're getting there?
No, I think maybe thirst, but hunger, no. I think just that. Like I know like, okay, I need to eat. Yep.
Okay. And my hunger varies unpredictably. Yes or no?
No.
Okay. I'm most hungry in the morning, afternoon, or evening.
Um, Probably morning, because I set myself up for the day by whatever I eat in the morning. So
Yeah.
I'm able to not feel starved later in the day.
Great. No, and it's great for your blood sugars as well. I rarely feel physical hunger. Yes or no?
Yeah. Yes.
Yes. And I feel hungry frequently throughout the day. Would be no, right?
I would say no.
And how do you typically respond to hunger signals? If you just look at these following answers.
I would say I think I eat before. Well, I would say I have my routine. So I typically eat um well, in the morning I eat when I feel hungry. I don't eat right when I wake up.
Okay,
So yeah, I eat when I feel hungry. Yeah.
perfect. Okay, and now getting into the fullness awareness area,
Yeah.
can you, which of these should I check? How do you know when you're full? How do you know when you're done?
Um I would say now it's different than it was before. It's in the natural urge to stop eating. Like I know I don't ever want to feel like I'm stuffed. So when you
Mhm.
talked about that 1 to 10, I don't ever want to feel
Mm,
I really don't want to even go past like a 7 or 8. I want to feel
yeah.
just comfortable. I don't want to feel like I have to unbutton my pants.
Hmm.
In the past, I felt like I would eat until I was uncomfortable.
Hmm. That's very
So natural
common.
urge or a comfortable feeling in my stomach, like, okay. But it's not just a physical sensation, it's also like a logical thing. Like, okay, I know that if I eat one piece of chicken and my salad and a vegetable or starch, if I eat this much food, I know I'm going to be content. And if I have a second piece of chicken, then I know it'll put me over the edge. So there's a logic component for me too
Mm.
now, just from
Hmm.
all of the trial and errors over the years to say, okay, what makes me feel good? And then also knowing if I eat something, if I eat my macronutrient dense meal and I
Yeah.
eat all these things, that I'm going to be satiated and I'm not going to be hungry later, and I'm not going to be overly full now. Does that make
Hmm.
sense?
Absolutely. And I think it's another indication of how much intuitive eating you've already learned, because
Yeah.
instead of counting calories or measuring or weighing, you're using your past experience based on your hunger cues that you know pretty much exactly what's going to do it for you at this point. And like you said,
Yeah.
that's been through trial and error, which is again becomes habitual. So you can there are things that you can habituate that for sugar or junk food or coffee or whatever, but it can also work the other way too, where you just know what your body needs at this point.
Yeah. And I don't want to try to tell everybody that I'm perfect. So I was just on vacation, and somebody had us over unexpectedly and cooked all this food, and we're like, all right, we have to eat all this food. And I was a little uncomfortable. And I know when that happens, I'm like, yeah, I don't want to do that. So it's a
Mm,
reminder.
mm.
So I'm not perfect every single time. And it's usually, and I know you're going to be talking about this today, it's usually when something unexpected happens and I feel like I don't want to disappoint somebody else.
Yes. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. Total resonate with that. In fact, in my newsletter, I'm sending an article this week about photo, fear of disappointing others. And it
Yeah.
talks a little bit about that too. So thank you for sharing that. So challenges with fullness recognition. Sounds like you really are not in that place anymore, but if you were to check anything here, or even in the past, what would it be?
Um,
Oh,
I
external
would say,
factors.
yeah, external factors, and I feel guilty about stopping before plate is empty. My father-in-law's Italian, and he cooked chicken cutlets. I don't make chicken cutlets because I don't eat fried foods, but I'm like, okay, he made these, I need to eat them.
Mm.
And there is that guilt component, but I don't live near my family, so only when I visit would that happen. But it's a factor for me, especially if they're cooking things that I know my stomach really won't tolerate. And sometimes I
Mm.
feel like, okay, well, I need to eat this fried thing, even though I know I can't
Ah,
eat fried things without having issues later. It's and I'm better. Like I'll say I'm just gonna have one piece, or I can't eat too much, or something's gonna
mhm.
happen. And they know that, and they're not super pressuring me. But if someone makes a meal, I feel like I need to eat it.
I totally understand. And I actually have some, not scripts, but some ways to have verbiage for that in a way that honors what you need, but also respects the situation you're in, which is that you don't want to insult the person who's invited you over and prepared this whole meal for you, and how can you navigate that? I think these are really important questions. And hopefully those of you watching also have navigated this to some degree and can share in the Heartbeat community. We can have a further conversation about it as well. I'm not going to go through these, but I'm going to send this to you and you can finish filling this out, the
Okay.
assessment. But basically, you're getting a sense of what this really is, and it's assessing, what are the most difficult eating situations for you? Is it restaurant meals? Maybe it's work events. Maybe it's just like you said, the unexpected stuff. What are your being aware of your emotional states when, are you
Yeah.
most likely to eat when you're stressed or when you're bored or when you're anxious? Just having that awareness can be very helpful to like be able to create specific tools that you need for each emotion that you're experiencing. And then, of course, environmental factors, buffet style eating while distracted, you're in a rush, you're driving, time pressure, just understanding what are the mitigating factors that happen when you tend to not eat intuitively. Understanding that, like you said, Colleen, like nobody's perfect. This isn't about perfection at all. It's about building a practice.
Right.
And then going beyond that, it's looking at like what are your go-to comfort foods when you are stressed, really understanding why, oh, when I'm stressed, I really want chocolate. Or when I'm feeling sad, I just want creamy, smooth, I just want ice cream or, specific childhood food, And then I'm going to ask a lot of little extra questions about the specific foods that you crave when you're stressed, and what are the, warm foods that you might want? What are the cold foods you might want? And then understanding your comfort eating triggers, and then how you feel after comfort eating. So I will send this to everybody after the session. But let's get back to this. It's only a few pages long. We've talked about the specific challenges that we're going to look through today. And then the response framework is just that. It's a framework. It's not something you have to follow to a T. It's a framework that you can try to remember and use when you're in a situation where you feel pressured rather than being able to make an authentic, intuitive decision. So the first is acknowledge, internally recognize the situation and the competing pressures you're feeling without judgment. Like, okay, my Italian stepfather, I don't want to insult him, but I really don't want to eat this fried food. And like, I'm feeling anxious about it. Just acknowledge that, in your head. Remember, connect with your body's wisdom and the intuitive eating principles that, we've been working on. Then you get the chance to respond. You choose the authentic response that honors both you and the social context, which it sounds like you did to a perfect T, because you knew that fried foods isn't always going to, be good for your stomach. But you also knew that, I'll take a bite, I'll let them see that I'm trying it. And you were like being very conscious of how much you would eat so that you didn't get past the point where you were really unhappy, and not feeling well.
That's right.
And then address the social aspect of this with confidence, knowing that caring for yourself allows you to be more present for others rather than rushing to the bathroom or to like leave because you have cramps or whatever it is, among other things. So we talked about creating your personal hunger fullness scale. I have a hunger scale that goes from 1 to 10 that I've taught and I've have information on my website about. This goes a little bit beyond that because it doesn't work for everyone. And this personal scale, and I invite you watching today to cultivate and create your own personal hunger fullness scale, just like we're going to do today. So looking at physical sensations, emotional indicators, mental clarity changes, like are you having brain fog? Are you distracted? And then timing patterns that you have noticed. So looking at these, and you could have any words you want. If instead of one being like really full, your words could be, oh, I feel stuffed. This is when I feel really lethargic. I start to feel like resenting or regretting my decisions, Whereas a 5 would be starving, like headache, irritable, hangry, can't concentrate. So, Colleen, if you can take a minute to just kind of identify the words that would go with 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 5. So starting with 1, when you're uncomfortably full, what are the actual words that come up for you?
Mm. Mm. Um, I'm just trying to think about the other day when I was like, and for me, it's even like more complex than that because there's fullness and then there's, oh, you ate something that your gut is reacting to and creating
Oh,
additional bloat. And so
yeah.
sometimes it's weird for me. I'll be hungry and full at the same time because of that complexity.
I've
Um,
experienced that before too. It's very weird.
it is very weird. And so sometimes I know I need to eat even though I don't feel like I can.
Yeah.
So when I'm uncomfortably full, oh, I don't even know if I'm trying to think of like what words I'm imagining the sensation. Um, I think things like bloated and um, like I don't want to do anything else. Like I don't want
Mm,
to go anywhere afterwards and do something fun. Like I think uncomfortable is probably the word that I would use. Like I'm
mm,
uncomfortable, I'm not happy,
mm.
and I just want to go and put my nightgown on.
Yes. Oh my gosh, I totally relate to that. And it's true. Like if you're physically uncomfortable and you're feeling the sensation of stomach distension, it's not like
Yeah.
doesn't make you want to go out and party. You just
No.
want to like make the feeling go away, just wait till it goes away. So I
And
definitely understand that.
I would even throw in like, "Ugh, I feel fat now. Like I
Mm,
normally, and I don't eat like that very often. And so it's more uncommon for me now, but I remember, years and years and years ago, like I would almost, yeah, ruin the rest of the day for myself if I
mm,
if I really like I'm thinking about going to events, like going to a wedding. And I
Mhm.
remember the time, where I would go to a wedding and be like, oh, what are all the things I'm going to eat? And in New Jersey, they have a lot of food and a lot of wedding at the banquets and stuff. And then I remember the first time I went to a wedding where I focused on the social aspects and not on the food. I barely ate anything during the cocktail hour. And I was like, wow, I've really had so much more fun. I know that's not the topic of our conversation.
No, it's an external, how do we say it? It's like an external motivation. It's something that you can associate with not,
Yeah.
with having more fun when you're not doing this, which is a intrinsic motivator, right? To
Yes,
feeling really good.
absolutely.
No, I think that definitely makes sense. What about when you're like a four, when you're hungry, but you're not starving? What does that feel like? What are the words that you would use?
Um, I'm finding this challenging for myself because I feel like I don't really think about it anymore. um, when I'm feeling hungry but not starving, um, I feel like in most cases, because I do eat mostly at home now, um, I'm excited. I'm excited to enjoy a meal. I'm excited to, like I try to keep things in my house that I could put something together easily. So, for example, say it's around 1 o'clock, and I don't have an exact time that I eat lunch. I do look for those hunger cues and my schedule, if I have calls and I know I can eat between a certain time. And I'll be like, ooh, I'm feeling like, I want to fuel my body with something um, good, and I know I have salad and some shrimp I can heat up,
Mm.
um, and some veggies and some goat cheese or feta. So I feel like not. I'm not. I, I'm not helping you at all. I know about the
No, you
physical. You
are.
want
I
the
think
physical.
no, not necessarily, because thinking about food isn't physical and being excited about a meal isn't physical, but I've experienced that too. Like, I know when I'm starting to get hungry is when I start to think of like, ooh, I'd love some oatmeal right now. Or, like I start to, an
Yeah,
image of something comes in my head and I'm like, oh, because I don't think about food when I'm not hungry.
and I feel like if I'm hungry and I don't have things in my house that I know are going to, fill me up,
Mm,
me feel good, that's when there can be some stress and anxiety. But if I know
mm-hmm,
I'm prepared or I have a plan, even if it's a loose one, because my plans are more loose when it comes to food. But if I know that I have some greens, some nuts, some cheese, some veggies, and a protein, like I have protein shakes a lot in the morning, and I'm like, oh, I really need something. So it's also that, like, what make me feel good and what's going to keep me satiated longer, because I know I'm going to a network meeting today and I don't want to stop somewhere on the way home and get something that I'll regret. So, like, what's going to make me not think about food? And so I do get excited about, okay, I know I have bananas, I have my cottage cheese, I have my protein mix. Ooh, I picked up fresh strawberries because they're in season. I'm going to make
mm-hmm.
myself a strawberry. So I feel like there's that excitement and that, what's the word? Is it contentment? Is it
Satisfaction.
feeling I don't- satisfaction, even safety? Like I know I have good
Mm,
foods to fuel me. So when I'm feeling hungry, and I'm not coming up with the right word, but it's um like
like a
I'm good.
catalyst.
I'm good. I'm going
Mm.
to eat something that I enjoy, that it tastes good, that's going to satisfy me, that's going to fill me. And I know hungry. Almost is, I'm going to say the word, a relief.
Yeah.
It's a relief.
It's a relief. That's totally coming through. It's just like, yourself, what tools to use for specific situations. And these meals that you've cultivated through the macronutrient balance method is is kind of like a
Yeah.
ace in the hole for you. It's like you don't have to think about it too much because you know what your go-to foods are. And I think that's so exciting. It is, because then you know exactly what to do. And instead of like always
Yeah.
feeling like,
And in
was this the
contrast,
right choice? Is this the right choice? I don't know.
or feeling like you're on that emotional roller coaster with food where you're like, oh, I don't have anything. Okay, let me run out and get something. And then you get
Mm,
something, and either you're not satisfied because it didn't
mhm,
taste good, or you're not
mhm,
satisfied because you're still hungry. Or
mhm.
you taught us there's being satiated and then there's being full, and you can be full and then an hour later go for the cookies or something because
Yeah,
you weren't satisfied, and you keep feeding yourself things that aren't satisfying
yeah.
you. At the end of that, you're disappointed and you
Oh,
feel
so
it.
true.
And so having that's the contrast, in not being prepared and not knowing what to do, or how to satisfy your body, because
Mhm.
we all have our own thing that makes us feel satisfied. What satisfies me may not satisfy you, right?
100%. And that's why I do think that like personalized approach is so important because and to have it translated into a language that both you understand and your body understands, that you can be on the same page. And so I'm going to I'm going to like be sending you a bunch of stuff, but one of them is a post like assessment area where you can start to put in some of the strategies that we're going to go over to kind of create a weekly plan for yourself in terms of how you're going to deal with certain social situations, environmental situations, and things that come up that are definite challenges for you. Um, One of the ways that we do this is through body awareness, right? And so many of us have learned to ignore our body signals or, you know, disparage our body signals. Why are you hungry? I just ate. I don't want to eat again. Like getting angry about what your body's sharing with you, not willing to take care of it. There could be so many reasons, perhaps trauma, previous trauma in your life. There's so many reasons why we may want to dissociate from our bodies. But the best way to learn how to communicate with your bodies is to first feel safe in your body. And to do that, you've got to be present. You've got to know and teach yourself that you are safe in the body you have right now. And part of the way you do that is, first to breathe. Your breath is something, I think we take like 20,000 breaths a day. And how many of those are we aware of? We're not aware of our breath for most of the day. And so even just taking like 3 deep breaths to center yourself gives your brain a moment to be like, oh, okay. Oh, how am I feeling? Am I in pain? I've definitely ignored pain before. I don't know about you, like gone to the gym with a sore knee or whatever, went to work with a sore throat. Like it's something that in our society we tend to do. The next part is to scan, move your attention from different parts of your body. That can help you determine, oh, I do have a little bit of a headache. Maybe that is an indication I'm hurt, thirsty, or hungry. Or, oh, wow, I have this like hollow feeling in my stomach. And yeah, I think I need an apple right now, or I need something. So just noticing those sensations without any judgment, with using like a witness mind, like I'm witnessing this occur. The next is to identify. This is when you use your words, the words that you've identified in the previous slide. Where are you on your personal hunger fullness scale? And what specific sensations led you to that conclusion? That's a really important part of it. And then the last part is to reflect, consider how this awareness might be able to influence your next food choice or eating experience. So intuitive eating is not can coexist with meal planning and intention and consciousness. It's not like I'm just listening to my body and my body says hot fudge, so I'm just going to go to the store. It's like, or I mean, I'm craving broccoli. It's more about just reflecting and understanding what it is that you need now and in the future, and recognizing that that may change and you can honor both. Like I love how you said you get excited for these foods like banana and cottage cheese, but you like those foods. Like
Yes.
it's not like, oh, these are diet foods. Like I hate cottage cheese. I think of that as diet food. Like cottage cheese and like a little bit of honeydew melon is what I remember from diners. Like when I was dieting, I'd have to go to a
Yeah.
diner and it was like cottage cheese. But for you, it's a wonderful thing. So that really just underscores how important this this customization is and personalization. Go ahead.
Yeah. No, I was going to say, I wasn't really ever a cottage cheese eater, and I did think of cottage cheese as a diet food. But
Mm,
when I hit perimenopause and I went through a study, I think I told you about it. Um, they said you need to have protein with every meal.
yeah.
So And I tend to do that, but sometimes I don't. Like, if I have pizza, I'm not really having a piece of chicken with it. So when I really looked at like how much protein I was taking in, I do have a protein shake, but I'm doing vegan protein shakes now, or
Mm-hmm.
vegetarian, plant-based, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, and I don't like the grainy quality of a plant-based protein shake.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, you know what? I'm going to start experimenting. So I tried yogurt, and I now I use cottage cheese. And I
That's
do
so
I do like cottage
brilliant.
cheese now. A
Right.
little drizzle of honey and some fruit. Like, I can eat cottage cheese. I don't think of it as diet food anymore.
Huh.
What I think of it as a way to be able to create a more luxurious experience with my protein shakes, and adding so much more protein so that I can continue to
Mm.
fuel my body, strengthen my muscles, and enjoy my when I'm drinking, when I'm eating,
This
right?
is amazing. Yes, 100%. I mean, just time and time again, you're showing how this is not the Colleen that I met 8 years ago. Let's just
No,
say
no,
she has experienced so much growth, and this is just another example of that, of being creative in the kitchen. How do I get more protein? Oh, I'll add a little ricotta, add a little cottage cheese. Maybe I'll add, maybe if you don't like the protein powder, some people add silken tofu, and it just doesn't
mhm.
really change the taste that much. So I love that. It's that flexible thinking, while also at the same time using practice and tools like this so that you know what to do next time. You're not stuck in that same situation, not knowing what you need in that moment. So this is what I consider the intuitive meal planning framework, because instead of planning meals based on external rules, I should be doing this, I should have that portion, you learn to plan based on your body's natural patterns and preferences, while at the same time, like, I love that you said, I know I've got this thing later and I want to fuel my body and have enough energy. So you're thinking about what's going to serve you now, but also you know enough about yourself that this is going to help you later as well to manage your blood sugars and manage cravings and hunger and all that kind of stuff. So with this framework, you are basically assessing hunger patterns. You're tracking your typical hunger levels throughout the day. Are you hungriest in the morning or in the evening? Do you need substantial midday meals? I know somebody who has their main dinner meal at like 4, because that's when they're hungry. And then they sit with
Yeah.
their family and they just talk at dinner time, but they're not eating then. Considering your time and routine, factoring in schedule realities. When do you have time to eat? How can you honor your hunger when you have time constraints? And I'm going to just give you a quick example. I've talked about this in the podcast, but it was such a game changer. Like, we went to Chipotle, my whole family went to Chipotle to get burritos before a movie, and they were just like chowing it down, and I was doing it right there with them because I was there and I was following the cues. And then it hit me. I'm like, I don't have to do this. They were worried about the movie and getting seats. I'm like, why don't you guys go get the seats, and I'm gonna sit and take 10 extra minutes to really enjoy this. So there are little things that you can do. You're not always in the time pressure that you think you are. And if in the future, you can also build in or buffer in a little extra time for the purpose of eating. Again, honoring your food preferences, what the flavors, the textures, the types of foods that genuinely satisfy you, both fullness and also satisfaction and satiety. And, that is, like Colleen said, a different experience of being stomach full versus this intense sort of feeling of contentment. Just, I don't know if you can have intense contentment, but just a physical nourishment and a genuine pleasure, and just feeling like, okay, I'm ready to move on with my day, I'm ready to do whatever I have to do. And then it also builds in that flexibility, allowing space to adjust based on changing. I know that my energy levels shift dramatically throughout the day based on a lot of factors, not just how much sleep I got, but like how much how many interruptions I have and who I'm speaking to, and different thing, how I'm feeling that day. And so you got to be able to build in enough flexibility to honor that maybe different day to day. So
Yeah.
this
And
is
I
just an example. Yeah, go ahead.
just want to share one other thing, because I had an interesting yesterday. We had an 8-hour drive. We had a nice meal at 5 o'clock. My friend, she's an integrative health coach. And so she made beautiful food, chicken and vegetables and all kinds of things. So we ate at 5 o'clock, and we knew we'd be driving for 8 hours. we left at 6:30 and we stopped at Wawa. And I remember thinking like, what am I going to get? Maybe I'll probably have a Wawa pretzel. They didn't have any Wawa pretzels. So I looked and I'm like, okay, I got myself, it was funny because I first got myself a Cliff Bar, banana,
Hmm.
peanut butter, chocolate, and some Skinny Pop. And I was like, I was really excited about that. I'm like, I know that I'm going to be very satisfied by the Cliff Bar, and I love Skinny Pop popcorn. Then my husband went in after we had just ate a full meal and got himself a cheeseburger. And I'm like, what are you doing? And I shouldn't have my business. He was very unhappy with his choice as he's eating this burger as he's driving down 95.
Mm-hmm.
I had gone back in because I wanted to get a banana, and I also grabbed a Snickers bar, which I normally wouldn't do, but I'm like, you know what? I want that. So over the 8 hours, I had, every couple hours, I had something,
Hmm.
and I felt really good about it, even the Snickers bar. And
Hmm.
I wasn't hungry the whole way. I can't sleep in the car, so I was up until we got home at, yeah, 2:45. So I slept until 10:30 this morning, and I haven't eaten yet because I wasn't hungry. And as I'm like tuning in and doing, I was breathing when you were telling us to breathe and kind of
Hmm.
scanning. I'm like, oh, I'm starting to feel hungry now. But I
Hmm.
I ate food probably until 1 o'clock in the morning. So I wasn't hungry when I woke up. And now I'm like starting to think like, oh, okay, I've been gone for 11 days. What do I have to eat? I know I don't have any bananas and I require a protein shake. But I'm, after we hang up, I'm going to go take a look and see, okay, what do I have left? Because I'm going to go shopping today. That's going to make me feel good so that when I go to the store, I'm not going grabbing all the things I shouldn't. Um, but anyway, it's just you talking through that whole thing. It was like, I think that I did grab the things that I knew
Hmm.
would make me feel satisfied, not full, because I had already had my big meal.
Hmm.
And I feel like it was successful in that
I
car ride
love
home.
that. I love that so much because look, you are going to want what you want. You crave Snickers. For you to say no to that Snickers in this moment, it's not like you have Snickers every day. It's not part of your regular meal
Yeah.
planning routine. But so like when it's there and you feel excited about it and you know it's going to taste good and it's going to satisfy you, that's a good decision. It's there shouldn't be any guilt about that. There's no need for it. And I feel like that's what you experienced, that you were able to take care of yourself. And then, yeah, I really want this. This is good. This is what I want. And yeah, I think that's wonderful. And I hope that you continue to be able to like trust yourself so much. I think that's such a key part of it is like the
It
with the
is.
with the clients that I work with is just not like after years and years of dieting and people telling them what they should eat and when they should eat and how much, they really just don't trust themselves anymore to know what is best. Or if I trust myself, I'm going to have 10 Snicker bars. And the process of intuitive eating, it does take time. It takes time to practice and to learn how to trust yourself. And it's so awesome to see how far along you are, Colleen, with this process. Um,
Thank you. Yeah.
you're welcome. But so this is an example right here of how you can use this methodology in your meal planning. So both you, Colleen, and also for everyone watching, the questions to consider, like let's say it's, breakfast. So for today, Colleen, you didn't wake up hungry. So there was no reason because you were already eating late the night before. So knowing what you know about where you are on your hunger scale when you typically wake up, Colleen, you said that you're not today, but typically hungrier, right? In the morning.
Yes.
So that's really important thing to know. What is your morning time frame? Like, do you get in the shower and then your husband gets like, what are the things? Do you have to take your kids to camp or to school? What are the things that are part of your morning time responsibilities? And then what foods appeal to you? Um, don't like think outside the box. Like my mom has like miso soup with vegetables for breakfast, like all the time. She loves that. Um, Also thinking like what breakfast will leave you feeling satisfied but not overly full, and what are you going to eat that's going to leave you energized for the rest of your day? So, for instance, on a on a morning where you're waking up at a level 5, that's when you're not hungry, not that hungry. Yogurt and granola just to take with me. So as hunger is starting to build throughout the morning, I can know when to start eating that. For mornings that are more like a 2, eggs with toast and vegetables, give yourself extra time to prepare. Mornings when you wake up at a 3, oatmeal with fruit and nuts plus coffee. This isn't about any rigid rules, but like waking up and being like, okay, I'm at a 3 today, so this is what I need. I'm at a 5 today, and so here's what I'm going to go for. And that will take time. It's not going to be
Mm.
automatic. So just some key
I love
takeaways
that. I
here.
love that.
Sorry, I didn't
Yeah.
hear you. Say again.
I was just saying, I love that. And I do practice that. And it really, really makes a difference when you start out your day being aware of what you need.
Mm,
It's a great way to start the day.
mm, I totally agree. Okay, so then key takeaways, practice over perfection. This is just, a skill to develop over time. Each meal that you have and decide upon it's an opportunity to practice. Um, your body, obviously your wisdom, and that can change day to day. You may know yourself all like I knew myself for like 51 years, and then perimenopause hits, and you have to think about your nutrition a little bit differently. And,
Mhm.
I have to think about bone loss now, and I have to think about other things and making sure I maintain muscle mass. So you have to make changes and be, I would do like tune-ups from time to time. Like, where am I at right now? Did you get a new job? Did you move? Are there extenuating circumstances in your life? And then social resilience, viewing challenging social situations, which will absolutely come up as opportunities to practice self-advocacy and to practice your intuitive eating practices. This is what I'm going to be sending you. We didn't get a chance to fully get into it, but I'm going to email this to you, or yeah, I think through the Substack app, we'll do that. And these are your strategy cards. So we have restaurant strategy cards, we have family gathering strategy cards, and then work event strategy cards and travel situation. And each of these are designed to help you to navigate more difficult, challenging situations, to know what to do to be able to honor your body. So, like the first one we'll go over. Your meal arrives and it's twice what you need. You're at the Cheesecake Factory and you feel all this pressure to finish it because it's just what you do. And, that's what you did growing up, and you don't know how to not finish your plate, right? So, some strategies before you order, ask about portion size. Ask if you can have half the order. Ask if you can have half and then have them put the other half immediately into a bag to go. Upon arrival, like I immediately box half for tomorrow's lunch. Pause halfway and put your fork down and say, am I still hungry? Am I still enjoying this? Um, you know, Handling it socially, if people are asking why you're eating so slowly, or whatever it is, it's like, oh, is this delicious? I'm just saving room to really enjoy it. Like, I'm just taking my time. um, I'm going to take half of this home. These are some script options. It's too good to not savor it twice. And practicing listening to my body, and it's telling me I'm satisfied. Menu overwhelm. If there's too many choices on the menu, I feel this a lot. Actually, before I became a vegan, I felt it a lot. Now I don't feel it as much because there's not usually a lot for me to eat, but looking at the menu beforehand and thinking in advance, like, where am I with hunger today? What have I eaten today? What am I looking forward to? What do they offer? How can I advocate for myself? What questions can I ask the restaurant? So that you have a decision framework. And all of these are sort of tackling different situations. So I want to go to the one with family holiday abundance, or family gathering strategy cards, the childhood food pressure. So you're expected to eat foods that maybe you've outgrown or don't enjoy anymore, but they're traditional or they're your favorite, or, Uncle Todd made them just for you and you feel guilty, right? So some strategies there to honor change. It's normal for your taste to evolve. Taking smaller portions, you can taste it without finishing it, which is exactly what you did with that fried food, Colleen. Focusing on the connection. The meals are much more about the connection sometimes than even the food. Um, Preparing your family, letting them know what your eating style is in advance. Like, hey, um, just so you know, I don't want to be catered to, but I'm probably not going to eat any fried foods because blah, 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 blah. And some conversation starters like, yeah, oh, thank you so much for making this. My tastes have really changed over the years, and my body, I just don't, thank you so much, but I don't feel I think I can eat that right now. Or that's not good for my body anymore. I want to save room for blah, blah, blah for the main meal. I love being here with everyone. That's what really matters the most. So just like you don't have to use these, but these are just some ideas that you can use. And a lot of this has to do with creating boundaries for yourself, food boundaries, and letting people know your expectations, and often advocating for yourself in advance so that you don't have to be in an awkward situation. So that's what I often do is like, hey, I don't want to be a pain. I'm vegan. I'm gonna bring some tofu with me, or I'm gonna bring, don't worry about it. Don't make any changes. I'm just gonna bring what's good for me, and I'll have the vegetables or stuff like
Yeah.
that, and that can, this comes up with gluten-free, this comes up with other allergies. Then there's also some the time travel, I wish. The travel situation, how to eat in hotel and vacation eating, time zone challenges, different things that come up. So I'm so excited to give this to you, and I hope that it will be helpful, that you can print it out and you can use them in different situations. So any questions about that?
No, I love that you've put this together for us because it really is helpful. You've coached me in the past on traveling and looking ahead and all of that. One other thing I wanted to mention,
Yeah.
because I do this often now at holidays, is usually I'll try to bring a dish that's more on the healthier side or things that I know that I want. But even if you're at a party or a wedding, whatever, and you have people that are putting pressure on you, if you fill half of your plate with a salad and you're still taking some small portions of other things, people, they see the full plate and they're not thinking about what you're eating.
It's so
So
true.
it's a good strategy to fill the plate with the things that you want to eat, that you feel
Yeah.
good about eating, and then it could avoid some conversations that, if they're like, why aren't you eating anything? So
Oh
that's a little
gosh,
tip that I do.
I hate when people do that. Like putting the spotlight on your plate, like I don't, please don't.
Yeah,
But
none of your business.
yeah. So this is great. And this is why I crave so much for community to talk about these types of things, because these are real world situations that come up and everybody handles them differently. And I think the more of us who are on here each month, and we can talk about these things, and like, not only is it going to support our everyday lives, but it's also going to give us even more ideas, give me some ideas on other content that I can create for you and support you with. So Colleen, thank you so much for being here today. Um, I'm going to send the slides. I'm going to send the assessment to everyone and then the strategy cards. So let me jump out of here and say thank you so much for joining us. I'm going to, you'll be receiving probably an email within 24 hours. I'm just going to, publish the video and edit it a little bit if I can, and that kind of stuff. So let me stop the recording. Bye, everybody. Thank you for coming, watching.